Chapter 51 Shock in the Ninja World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hagoromo Shinue is back from the dead, that the silence in the Hokage's office was thick enough to cut with a kunai. Besides Tsunade and Jiraiya, Shizune, now Tsunade's secretary, was also present. Jiraiya's revelation had dropped like a lead weight. In today's ninja world, few could force the infamous Abbey team to retreat with broken arms. And then there's the ice release. Kirigakure had exterminated the Snow Clan long ago. The sole survivor was supposedly buried in the Land of Waves. Combine that with the intel on Hagoromo Shuanyue's ice release, the answer was staring them right in the face. How can someone who's been dead for over 50 years just come back? Even with impure world reincarnation, this shouldn't be possible. How did he pull it off? As a medical ninja extraordinaire, Tsunade understood the boundaries of life and death better than most. Shock gave way to utter bewilderment. She'd saved countless lives, patched up endless injuries, and even pulled people back from the brink, but brink was the operative word. The so-called clutches of the Grim Reaper was more like a near-death experience. When faced with the actual line between life and death, even her unparalleled medical skills were useless. Tsunade-sama, Shizune's face suddenly paled. Could it be related to the soul transformation technique? The soul transformation technique. Tsunade's temper flared at the mention of it, not at Shizune, but at Hagoromo Gengetsu. Sure, he was as legendary as her grandfather, Hashirama Senju, and Uchiha Madara, but he still resorted to stealing forbidden techniques. If she'd been around back then, she would have punched him into next week. She took a deep breath, reining in her anger. Frowning, she said, the soul transformation technique lets you separate your soul from your body and kill people from a distance. But that's a far cry from bringing someone back from the dead. Jiraiya stroked his chin. Orochimaru popped into his head. Maybe Hagoromo Gengetsu, like Orochimaru, developed a forbidden technique similar to reanimation jutsu. The reason he wanted the soul transformation technique was probably to complete the final piece of the puzzle. Unaware that Hagoromo Gengetsu's body had been preserved, this was the best Jiraiya could come up with. Reanimation. Tsunade understood the implication. For a crusty old fossil like Hagoromo Gengetsu, who died back in the Warring States period, resorting to any means for resurrection wasn't out of the question. Another Orochimaru type. No, Hagoromo Gengetsu is even more dangerous than Orochimaru. Tsunade's frown deepened. Jiraiya, what do you think an old geezer like that is planning now that he's back? The Hokage mantle weighed heavily on her shoulders, forcing her to consider every angle. Jiraiya shook his head, a wry smile on his face. Your guess is as good as mine. I just hope he doesn't throw the ninja world back into chaos. Him. Tsunade scoffed, crossing her arms. How could one person take on the entire ninja world? Even her grandfather couldn't do that, and Hagoromo Gengetsu was just her grandfather's old punching bag. The Cloud Village clearly doesn't see it that way. Jiraiya's expression turned grave. He handed Tsunade a document from Kumo. The Cloud Village has sent an official request for a 5 Kages summit. 5 Kages summit? Tsunade was taken aback. Across the land of water, Terumi Mei, the Mizukage, had the same reaction. 5 Kages summit? Did Hagoromo Gengetsu get to the Raikage? Why would he suggest something like that? Terumi Mei, already reeling from the news of Hagoromo Gengetsu's resurrection, couldn't believe Kumo was proposing a 5 Kages summit. While the Hidden Mist Village had a long-standing relationship with Hagoromo Gengetsu, she would never consider a 5 Kages summit to target just one person. The 5 Kages summit, the highest level power meeting in the ninja world. It had only been held once in decades. That summit had established the structure of the ninja world after the Warring States period, a structure that persisted to this day. Targeting Hagoromo Gengetsu now, so soon after that first meeting, would imply that the 5 ninja villages had no confidence that the established structure would persevere. Now, they were calling another summit just to deal with one guy. It made the 5 great nations look weak. 3 ninja wars later, the collective power of the 5 villages was far greater than it had been at their founding. The young and ambitious 5th Mizukage set aside the summit proposal. Instead, should we shift our resources to a full-scale investigation of Hagoromo Gengetsu? that her subordinates had no objections. Hagoromo Gengetsu might be powerful, but the Hidden Mist village could test him countless times. Everyone had a weakness, those weaknesses could be exploited and amplified. Eventually, even gods could be brought down. That was the firm belief of modern ninjas who had never experienced the warring states period of gods and demons. Iwagakure village, the land of earth had an opposite reaction to that of Konoha after receiving the idea of convening the 5 Kage conference. While the Hidden Mist was radical, also, the body of the 4th Kazekage was finally found. Currently, he was busy dealing with the funeral affairs and worried about the candidate for the 5th generation. After looking around, he couldn't find a suitable one. Under such circumstances, the Sunan ninja was certainly not in the mood to care about foreign affairs. The 3rd Tsuchikage, Inoki, fell silent after reading Kumo's report. His subordinates waited patiently, like barnacles clinging to a reef, for the decision of the leader who had guided Iwagakure for decades. Whatever his decision, they would execute it without question. Most leaders would welcome such unwavering loyalty. But Inoki sighed. He'd rather someone voice their own opinions, instead of just blindly agreeing with him. No successor. Inoki shook his head. He was forced to keep carrying the burden himself, placing his hopes on the younger generation. Kuratsuchi was promising, and Deidara, never mind. The thought of that traitorous student who abandoned his teacher and village for some idiotic artistic pursuit just irritated him. He could have been the 4th Tsuchikage, but he threw it all away. In his 70-plus years, Inoki had never seen anything so absurd. Lord Tsuchikage. Seeing his father's prolonged silence, Huang Tu finally spoke carefully, suggesting a course of action. What's our next move? Inoki's eyes flashed. He posed an unexpected question. Has there been any news about the Yui clan lately? Chapter 52 Master Madara. Your good friend is resurrected. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inoki's question hung in the air, unanswered. Let's rewind to the 5 Kage conference. A meeting of that magnitude couldn't just be thrown together. Each major ninja village had its own agenda and demands, unless, of course, they were facing a crisis, like Akatsuki running around snatching tailed beasts, threatening to flatten Konoha, or Hagoromo Gengetsu doing something that directly threatened all 5 villages. Otherwise, reaching a consensus anytime soon was a pipe dream. Compared to the 5 great villages, other groups were much more decisive. Hagoromo Gengetsu's face was plastered all over the black market, with a jaw-dropping bounty of 800 million, but this time, it wasn't for a corpse. They wanted him alive, or, failing that, the secret to his resurrection. For the rich and powerful outside the ninja world, news of Gengetsu's revival wasn't about ninja politics, it was about immortality. Who wouldn't want a second shot at life? Especially people like them, who had everything money could buy, except time, and who feared death more than anything. 100 million, 200 million, 300 million. Just name your price. Just give me the secret to resurrection. Money was no object. It's safe to say that a bounty that size, combined with the promise of resurrection, attracted a swarm of greedy bounty hunters. Sure, they'd heard Gengetsu was tough, but so what? Everyone dies eventually. Maybe they'd get lucky and strike it rich. Inside a dingy, bathroom-sized bounty office, a pack of hardened bounty hunters were buzzing with excitement, all pointing at Gengetsu's bounty at the top of the list, until a bell chimed from behind. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Fear silenced them. Ding, ding, star. Kakuzu, in his Akatsuki cloak and straw hat, walked up to the list. He was carrying a box full of cash he'd just collected for a kill. As usual, he was looking for fresh targets. Seeing him, the other hunters instinctively stepped aside, clearing a path for the legend. Nobody knew how long Kakuzu had been a bounty hunter. Even the veterans vaguely remembered him being around when they first started. Some had tried to mess with him, figuring he must be sitting on a fortune after all these years, but they ended up as corpses, adding to Kakuzu's overflowing coffers. Over time, Kakuzu became a boogeyman in the black market, untouchable, but even Kakuzu, normally unflappable, felt his pulse quicken at the sight of the 800 million bounty. However, when he saw who the bounty was for, he quickly composed himself, not even bothering to scribble the name in his little notebook as he usually did. He gave the lifelike portrait one last, lingering look, then turned and walked away. as one of the few people still alive who'd lived through the Warring States period, he knew Hagoromo Gengetsu. Even though they'd never met, he tried and failed to assassinate Hashirama Senju, been told to live a good life by the confused ninja, and given up his loyalty to the ninja ways to live as a bounty hunter driven only by money. Kakuzu knew better than to go for the quick buck. Some opportunities are best left alone. As for the secret of resurrection, having mastered Earth Grudge, he was already bordering on being non-human. He had plenty of time. Ding, ding, star. Kakuzu stepped out of the smelly office. Haydn, his partner, who'd been waiting impatiently, pinched his nose and said, "Finally. Can't you find a less disgusting place to get your money?" "No," Kakuzu replied flatly. "You godless heathen." Haydn cursed. Kakuzu simply glared. Haydn couldn't hurt him, just as he couldn't kill Haydn. Otherwise, he might have accidentally killed his partner, like so many others, and cashed in their bodies. Haydn, unaware that Kakuzu was wrestling with the allure of the bounty, spoke again. "The boss sent word. He wants us to meet up." "About what?" Kakuzu asked. Haydn shrugged. "Something big's brewing, apparently." "Who knows?" Kakuzu thought of Hagoromo Gengetsu. The big thing was probably him. "Madara-sama. Madara-sama. Did you hear? Your old buddy's back from the dead." In a desolate tower, Obito, silently watching the rain, turned to see White Zetsu bouncing towards him. He was confused. "Good friend resurrected? What do you mean?" He didn't have many friends these days. If anything, he had friends who remembered Obito from when he was good, like Kakashi, but they weren't dead. "Hagoromo Gengetsu. He's from your era." White Zetsu chirped, while Black Zetsu frowned. "Hagoromo Gengetsu." Obito frowned. "Who is he?" As an average student, he wasn't interested in ninja history. When Madara taught him, Madara didn't want to waste his time talking about dead people, so, Obito, masquerading as Madara, had never heard of Hagoromo Gengetsu. Black Zetsu, who knew Obito's true identity, explained, he was a contemporary of Uchiha Madara. Madara thought highly of him. Obito got it instantly. His visible eye narrowed. "How did he come back without reanimation?" Black Zetsu's voice dropped. "I don't know." That's why he was concerned. The plan to revive his mother was proceeding as planned. The last thing he needed was something unexpected, and now, Hagoromo Gengetsu had risen from the grave. The villages weren't the only ones worried. He was also concerned that Gengetsu's sudden reappearance could throw a wrench in the works. Obito was about to say something when a figure appeared before him. "Madara-sama," the figure said. Chapter 53, Xiao #039, S Movement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pain, the orange-haired leader who some conspiracy theorists used to believe was the fourth Hokage, appeared before Obito Uchiha and asked evenly, "Mr. Madara, are you familiar with Hagoromo Gengetsu?" Obito Uchiha's face tightened, but the swirling mask hid everything. He gave his standard, cryptic reply, "An old acquaintance." Pain pressed on. "Is there any chance of recruiting him to the Akatsuki cause?" Hearing this, Black Zetsu subtly shook his head at Obito. Obito took the hint. "Not unless you, Pain, are willing to turn over everything to him." "Understood." Pain's expression didn't change. Now that he called himself a god, handing over control was out of the question. "Since he's an old acquaintance of yours, Madara, he's your responsibility. Just make sure he doesn't interfere with our plans." "You don't have to tell me. I'm looking forward to catching up with this old friend," Obito said, his voice laced with something deeper. Pain nodded. Before his projection faded, he added, "One more thing, Madara. Do you know how Hagoromo Gengetsu was brought back to life?" "That's what I'd like to know." This time, Obito's answer felt genuine. "Then I'll leave it to you, Madara." Pain gave Obito one last look, and then his image vanished. After he was gone, Obito stared at Black Zetsu, who returned the gaze. Obito's eyes narrowed. "I want you to track down Hagoromo Gengetsu's every move. This guy's sudden reappearance has me on edge." "Got it." Black Zetsu nodded in agreement and sank into the ground. Obito was left alone, muttering, "Resurrection. Lin." Even if it works, in this broken world, it'll only lead to more pain. That's why no one can stop me from reshaping this whole damn ninja world. Meanwhile, around the fingers of the outer path demon statue, 6 spectral figures were bickering. Deidara, sporting his signature blonde ponytail, grumbled, seriously? Does the boss have to call these meetings like some geezer? I'm in the middle of creating new art. This is totally cramping my inspiration, yeah. What's the big deal about art? Deidara, why don't you believe in the one true God with me? Haydn, never one to miss a recruitment opportunity, pitched his religion. You. Deidara dropped his complaints about pain, rounded on Haydn, and snapped, you're a terrible salesman for a pyramid scheme. How dare you trash art? Bring out your so-called evil god, and I'll show him what true art looks like, yeah. Haydn blew a fuse. Ah. You little punk. Insulting the great god. Where are you? I'm gonna purify you, you heretic. Bring it on. Deidara raised his chin, taunting, your god ain't worth squat compared to art, yeah. Haydn shot back, and your art is a freakin' joke. Ask anyone. Nobody cares about art. It's a laughingstock. That was the last straw. Deidara looked ready to explode, and even Sasori, who usually tuned everything out, opened his eyes. He pointed at Haydn and said icily, Haydn, if you diss art one more time, I'm turning you into a puppet. I've always wondered if an immortal body can still be conscious after being turned into one. Even though his artistic sensibilities differed from Deidara's, Sasori respected art in general and wouldn't tolerate Haydn's trash talk. Seeing Deidara had backup, Haydn, on the defensive, whined to Kakuzu, Kakuzu, your teammate's coming after me. Help me out. Kakuzu glanced at him and said flatly, I'm just curious to see if you can actually die. Haydn. Nearby, Kisame, who had been watching the whole thing, grinned. What a lively bunch. Unlike the hidden mist, where everyone's so gloomy they're ready to stab you in the back at any moment. What do you think, Itachi? Itachi Uchiha didn't respond. His Sharingan seemed to focus on everyone and no one. As he was lost in thought, Kisame had spent enough time with this mostly silent teammate, who didn't seem like a ruthless clan murderer, to get a red on him. He continued casually, still thinking about the Nine Tails. Pain's not going to blame you for failing, given the circumstances. Or, your brother. Kisame looked at Itachi, a shark-like smile spreading across his face. I'm curious how someone who wiped out his entire clan can just let his brother go. Twice, now. Itachi Uchiha finally reacted, his expression shifting slightly. He said slowly, I'm thinking about someone else. Oh. Who's that? Yuro Gengetsu. That guy. Kisame instinctively patted the non-existent Samahata on his back, his voice laced with memory. If you want to know who remembers him, the hidden mist would be top of the list. I still remember teachers in the ninja academy mentioning his name with gritted teeth, like he was responsible for all the hidden mist's misfortunes over the years. Instead of facing their own problems, they blamed the dead. What a joke. Kisame scoffed. Itachi Uchiha studied Kisame intently, then said calmly, is that why you betrayed the village? That's part of it, Kisame replied with a smile. Speaking of which, the legendary Yuro Gengetsu has returned. The ninja world is about to get a lot messier. I'd love to see what Kirigakure village is like now. Do you enjoy chaos? Uchiha Itachi asked without changing his tone. Kisame said, it's not that I like it, it's that the organization does. Uchiha Itachi nodded. Just then, Pain and Conan's lantern projections appeared before everyone. Without preamble, Pain simply ordered, the ninja world is about to get turbulent. It's time for the Akatsuki to expand operations. As Kisame had pointed out, the Akatsuki's primary objective was to amass a fortune. This was why the Akatsuki was seen as a mercenary group. They would deliberately incite small conflicts, secure the commissions from smaller countries at rock-bottom prices, and then escalate the conflicts to maximize their profits. The news of Yuro Gengetsu's resurrection had sent shockwaves through the ninja world and drawn a lot of attention. This was the perfect time for schemers like them to rise. Pain then issued a series of missions to accelerate the Akatsuki's final plan. Before the meeting adjourned, Itachi Uchiha asked specifically, "How should we handle Hagoromo Gengetsu?" Pain glanced over, his gaze cold. "Don't worry about it." Dismissed. In an instant, the area around the heretic demon statue was empty and silent once more. Chapter 54 New Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. Task initiated. Main mission. Become the leader of the class-skipping crew. Mission details. You've made your mark at the Ninja Academy by taking down Naruto Uzumaki, but you still haven't grabbed everyone's attention. Beating just one guy isn't enough. It's time to set your sights on the notorious class skippers. Defeat Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, Naruto Uzumaki, completed, and Kiba Inuzuka, and dominate the Ninja Academy. Important note, this is a main story mission and cannot be declined or avoided. Ding. Ding. Task initiated. Side mission, childhood sweetheart. Mission details, what school without a little romance? Sasuke Uchiha gets all the girls, and Naruto's got Hinata Hyuga crushing on him. You, as the future king of the Ninja Academy, can't be left out. Choose a female classmate to be your sweetheart. If she's already got the hots for you, mission accomplished. Note, side missions are optional. No penalty for failure, rewards for success. Side mission reward, radiant technique, everyone loves looking good. This technique keeps you in tip-top shape, no gray hairs, wrinkles, or dirt to worry about. The system notifications flooded my brain. Hagoromo Gengetsu, chilling in a hotel hot spring, pulled the towel off his face, opened his eyes, and gazed at the steam swirling around him. He raised an eyebrow. I was just wondering why the system was silent, figured it was playing dead. Guess not, here come 2 missions at once. Hagoromo mentally reviewed the missions. The main quest was pretty standard. If he was going to rule the Ninja Academy, taking down Naruto was just the first step. The next logical move was to beat the rest of the troublemakers, but the side quest. There's a reward, and no penalty for failing. Sounds good. But seriously, the mission itself. Romancing a teenage girl? What was the system thinking? Hagoromo, not wanting to lose face, almost instantly rejected it. Then he saw the reward for the side mission, a ninjutsu that enhanced his appearance. Hagoromo, who was always concerned with his looks, perked up. Okay, unlike the main mission, this one gives the reward up front. That's worth considering. Plus, no consequences for failure. Let's scope things out first. Hagoromo filed the side quest away for later and stood up. The hot spring water cascaded off his sculpted body, but as the steam cleared, the damage was visible. His body, normally flawless, was riddled with injuries. A huge, fist-sized dent marred his chest. An ordinary person would have died from injuries like that. Hagoromo was still walking around. Thanks to his strong constitution and secret techniques to suppress the pain, it was only a temporary fix. Hagoromo examined himself. While the surface wounds had healed, the deep-seated damage remained, especially the sage chakra that Hashirama Senju had left behind. Thanks to the forbidden technique, Breath of Eternal Sleep, the chakra hadn't killed him, but it had fused with his body over decades, like a thorn that was impossible to remove. Sage Mode. Hagoromo touched the wound on his chest, remembering Hashirama in Sage Mode, descending with unmatched power. Hagoromo knew how powerful Sage Mode was. During the Warring States period, he had even searched for the 3 sacred sites, but he never found them. Creating his own Sage Mode, separate from the chakra system, was as difficult as perfecting his bloodline limit. Hagoromo, focused on the bloodline snare, didn't have the time or energy to create Sage Mode from scratch. If it were easy, there would be more than just a few sacred sites with Sage Mode, and none that was usable to humans. Besides, learning Sage Mode seemed to require a specific talent. Only a few could do it. During the Warring States period, only Hashirama Senju knew Sage Mode. Not to mention he created Sage Mode. That guy was strong because he was Azura's reincarnation and awakened the would-release Kekkei Genkai. Create Sage Mode. People like himself, Tobarama Senju, and Orochimaru couldn't do it. Hagoromo didn't even believe that Hashirama, of all people, had created it. More likely, he learned it from Shikatsu Forest. After the Warring States period, the only Sage Mode users Hagoromo knew were Jiraiya, who only used it half-assed, and then Naruto and Kabuto, Minato Namikaze could use it too, but he never mastered it before he died, so there were very few humans who could use Sage Mode in the past 1,000 years. Hagoromo wasn't sure if he'd ever get the chance to learn it. He was wary of the 3 old guys in the sacred sites who'd seen the Otsutsuki clan kill each other and brushed off infinite Tsukimi. Instead of taking it by force, it was better to get it from the system. However, without knowing the details of Sage Mode, Hagoromo had no idea how to remove Hashirama's chakra. Maybe I should look into medical ninjutsu, Hagoromo said, putting on his yukata. Thanks to Tsunade, and the other villages following suit, medical ninjutsu was much more advanced than in the Warring States period. Even Orochimaru thought Tsunade could fix his arms. That's how good medical ninjutsu had become. Things were always changing, technology and ninjutsu both improved. Modern people were always superior to their ancestors. Hagoromo, with the same idea, left the hot spring room and started planning. Chapter 55, Unexpected. Encounter with Team 7, Monthly Ticket Request. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hagoromo Gengetsu, having left Godfall Valley, now lives in a perfectly ordinary town. While letters from the Fourth Raikage, stirred up the ninja world, life went on as usual for regular people who weren't ninjas. Like this little town, they rarely saw ninjas and lived peacefully, but today, besides Hagoromo Gengetsu, a group of uninvited guests wearing Konoha forehead protectors showed up. Sasuke, are you okay? Should we stop and rest here for a bit? Sakura carefully supported Sasuke, who was covered in bandages. After Tsunade became the 5th Hokage, Kakashi had another mission, so Team 7 took on a B-level mission in the Tea Country. They ran into Midori Aoi, a rogue ninja who'd stolen the Thunder God's sword. They defeated him, but Sasuke was seriously injured. Sakura hadn't learned medical ninjutsu yet, so she could only bandage Sasuke and wait until they got back to the village for proper treatment. They'd been traveling a long time, and Sakura noticed Sasuke was exhausted as they passed through this town. That's when she suggested they stop. Naruto chimed in, yeah. Sasuke, you're sweating buckets. You gotta rest. I'm starving too, let's grab some food. Sasuke's expression darkened. He glanced at Naruto, who'd also been injured in the Tea Country mission but was now bursting with energy. He knew Naruto was the main reason they beat Aoi, and then there was him. A wave of anger washed over Sasuke. No. Let's go straight back to Konoha. He said coldly. Sasuke shook off Sakura's arm, ignoring her confusion, and limped away, gritting his teeth in pain. Sasuke, Sakura hurried after him, worried. Naruto just sighed and followed, scratching his head. Sasuke, you really don't want anything to eat? I can carry you. Naruto meant well, but Sasuke was already overthinking everything. He clenched his fists and kept moving without responding. Then he looked up and saw someone walking toward them. Danger! Sasuke's pupils contracted, and his Sharingan activated instantly. He stopped dead, staring at the approaching figure, a bead of sweat trickling down his forehead. Sasuke, what's wrong? Sakura caught up, confused by Sasuke's sudden stop. Sasuke snapped back to reality, grabbed Sakura's arm, and pulled her behind him. The force made her wince in pain. Sakura! Sasuke, you jerk! Naruto rushed forward, furious, but before he could even yell at Sasuke, his eyes landed on a familiar face. Hey! It's you! Naruto pointed, excited. What was his name again? It slipped his mind, but he remembered. This was the guy who threatened Tsunade and stole the ninjutsu scroll. You're the thief. Naruto's got you now. Without waiting for a response, Naruto eagerly rolled up his sleeves, ready to use the Rasengan he'd learned to teach this guy a lesson. Wait, Naruto! Sasuke, with his heightened senses, knew this guy was dangerous. Even if he didn't recognize him, he wanted to stop Naruto from rushing in headfirst. Normally, you couldn't stop Naruto, but this time was different. Naruto froze. It wasn't Sasuke who'd stopped him, it was Hagoromo Gengetsu, who calmly glanced their way. Just that one look. Naruto, usually fearless, froze, his face paling. his whole body trembling. What's going on? Move! Why can't I move? He roared in his mind, but it was no use. He felt like he was back on his first mission outside the village, watching Kakashi get brutally torn apart by two ninjas. His mind went blank, confused, scared, and lost. He desperately wanted to act, but Gengetsu's gaze paralyzed him. This guy. He wasn't like this before. Why does one look make me feel like this now? Naruto was overwhelmed with confusion, his heart sinking. Sasuke and Sakura felt the same way. Sakura had no idea what was happening, just an indescribable pressure that made it hard to breathe. Sasuke was sweating even more. He fought to stay on his feet, barely managing to glance at Gengetsu as he walked calmly. He was reminded of Zabuza and Orochimaru from the Land of Waves. He'd been overwhelmed by their murderous intent, like a wolf who was new to power facing a veteran wolf king, bloodstained and at the peak of his strength, and being naturally suppressed. But this was different, completely different. There was no murderous aura. The people around them were laughing and chatting, going about their day, but that casual glance, when his eyes landed on them, it was like an elephant passing by an ant, the mere presence sending an extreme shockwave, highlighting an overwhelming power gap. Gengetsu hadn't expected to run into Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura here. He looked at the faces of the three main characters, triggering a wave of memories. Then, despite their fear, worry, disbelief, and even a hint of surprise, he simply walked past them, as if they were nothing, and continued on his way. After resurrecting and arriving in Konoha 60 years later, the system, though still a bit slow, played an increasingly important role in Gengetsu's plans. He figured, Sasuke, Naruto, and the other classmates would inevitably appear in a series of tasks issued by the system, and more than once or twice, to avoid missing them when those tasks came up. Gengetsu wouldn't do anything to them right now. He'd even ask the system if he could still complete the task if the target died and was resurrected through impure world reincarnation. The answer was no, and the system mocked him for the ridiculous question of how a dead person could complete a task. As for completing the novice task while he was technically dead, the system said he'd always existed, so even if he died, he was still alive in the system's eyes and had to do the task. What kind of logic was that? Whatever, the system had been acting crazy for a while now. Gengetsu was used to it. Chapter 56 Sasuke, Naruto, who was that person just now? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tap. 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 To Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, those normal footsteps sounded like the Grim Reaper himself was approaching, filling them with immense dread. They were just three green kids fresh out of the academy. Now that Hagoromo Gengetsu was truly resurrected and free from the impure world reincarnation, even a sliver of the power he'd accumulated from countless battles was enough to make them shake in their boots. Kakashi, their teacher, would have felt the same way. Even as a jonin, he froze when he encountered Orochimaru back when he was on the run, and couldn't bring himself to make a move. Oh, by the way, I have an errand to run. Hagoromo Gengetsu, who was passing Naruto and the others, suddenly remembered his purpose. But Sakura. Forget about it. Even if she had to, she couldn't bring herself to do it. Ignoring the two sons and the Sage of Six Paths eyes and the heroine who just didn't measure up, Hagoromo Gengetsu continued on his way. A minute later, Hagoromo Gengetsu was gone. Under the curious stares of passers-by, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura finally relaxed and let out a long sigh of relief. Naruto, always quick to bounce back, jumped up and looked back in the direction Hagoromo Gengetsu had gone. Frustration etched on his face. How'd that guy get so strong? He hadn't noticed the changes in Hagoromo Gengetsu. He'd been busy in the tea country recently, so he wasn't aware of the big news in the ninja world. Naruto, Sakura, afraid that Naruto might try to cause trouble with that guy, quickly scolded him, warning him not to do anything stupid. She'd been really scared. Sasuke, on the other hand, was different. Though he was scared too, a crazy idea had taken root in his mind and wouldn't let go. Sasuke looked at Naruto. Naruto's reaction made it clear he knew the guy. Without wasting time, Sasuke asked, Naruto, who was that guy? That guy? Naruto scratched his head, thinking. I think he's called Hagoromo Gengetsu, a bad guy like Orochimaru. Let me tell you, I went with the pervy sage to find Tsunade. Naruto recounted what had happened in Tansho Street, emphasizing how awful Hagoromo Gengetsu was. Sakura, surprised to hear so much about the fifth Hokage's return to the village, listened intently. Sasuke ignored the rest, focusing solely on Hagoromo Gengetsu. Hagoromo Gengetsu. Never heard of anyone that powerful. As a member of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke should know a bit about the ninja world, but the massacre had cut short his clan's elite education. Obsessed with revenge, he had little interest in things unrelated to his power. Now, he regretted not having read more. Sakura, who'd aced the Chunin exam without cheating, had read a lot about ninjas. Seeing Sasuke's obsession and hearing Naruto's story, she put two and two together. Sakura quickly said to Sasuke, "Sasuke, that guy's supposed to be dead. According to Naruto, he's been resurrected through a technique, impure world reincarnation." Sasuke looked up sharply. Impure world reincarnation? Dead for years? Yeah. That's him. The pervy sage even called him senior. Naruto's eyes lit up, and he nodded at Sakura. Sakura pushed Naruto's head away and continued to look at Sasuke. Using her knowledge, she explained what she knew about Hagoromo Gengetsu. As Sasuke listened, his eyes widened. When Sakura finished, Sasuke clenched his fists out of sight, looked around, and said, "Let's take a break here and get some food." But Sakura was still a little scared. Sasuke said, "Don't worry. He let us go before, so he won't do anything now." Naruto rubbed his empty stomach. After that scare, he was even hungrier. He thumped his chest in agreement and said, "Don't worry, Sakura. I won't do anything stupid next time." 2 votes in favor. Sakura had no choice but to agree. Soon, the three found a room and ordered some food. Sakura went to the bathroom and found Naruto alone when she returned. "Where's Sasuke?" Sakura asked. "Just went to the bathroom," Naruto said casually. "Just went to the bathroom?" Sakura frowned. The men's and women's bathrooms were right next to each other. Why hadn't she seen him when she came back? Maybe he went earlier. Thinking this, Sakura sat down and waited quietly. 10 minutes passed, all the dishes were served, but Sasuke still wasn't back. "Sasuke must be having the runs," Naruto muttered, trying to grab his chopsticks, but Sakura slapped his hand away. Sakura sensed something was wrong and finally said to Naruto, "Naruto, why don't you go check on him?" "Huh? Check on him?" Though he didn't want to, Naruto did as Sakura asked. Naruto returned quickly, complaining, "Sasuke's not in there." "Did he go to another bathroom?" "No." Sakura slammed the table and stood up. Naruto jumped. "Sakura, you okay?" "Something's wrong with Sasuke," Sakura said seriously. The series of expressions on Sasuke's face replayed in her mind. Realizing something, Sakura grabbed Naruto, saying, "Naruto, we have to find Sasuke. Sasuke's a big boy. Wait. We haven't paid yet." In the end, Naruto threw down some money and followed Sakura to look for Sasuke. "This place is huge. Where do we even start?" Naruto, unfamiliar with the area, looked around. Sakura pointed in the direction Hagoromo Gengetsu had gone. "There." Naruto and Sakura began searching the street for Sasuke. Meanwhile, Sasuke, as Sakura had guessed, had left enough money to cover the food and ran towards the direction where Hagoromo Gengetsu had left. 10 minutes later, he found his target in front of a takoyaki stand. Hagoromo Gengetsu, holding the hot takoyaki, turned around and looked at the person who had approached. He looked surprised. "Uchiha Sasuke, huh? Interesting. Chapter 57 Sasuke, please teach me." You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hugh, Sasuke, already badly injured, felt even worse from all the running. He grit his teeth, eyes locked on Yuro Gengetsu. With the Sharingan's insight, he could easily tell the difference between a living person and an Edo Tensei. Based on the intel from Naruto and Sakura, combined with his inability to meet the guy's gaze earlier, there was no doubt, this man, rumored to rival gods and Kage alike, who should be fated in his glory, had truly broken free of death and returned to the world. Someone that powerful, that legendary, was on a whole different level than even the guy he hated most. Decided, Sasuke stopped Yuro Gengetsu. I need more power, he said, cutting right to the chase. Whatever it takes, as long as it makes me stronger, I'll do anything you want. Yuro Gengetsu paused, takoyaki halfway to his mouth, and gave Sasuke a surprised look. He hadn't expected Sasuke to come begging for power. Had this kid always been this reckless? Was he really not afraid of getting killed? Or was it just Uchiha arrogance, fueled by the Sharingan? Yuro Gengetsu wasn't far off. As the sole Uchiha survivor in Konoha, Sasuke, blessed with the powerful Sharingan, had always been a target for people like Orochimaru. That gave him a certain understanding. He was important, scarcity made things valuable, nobody could ignore an Uchiha. That was his safety net. But this time was different. Yuro Gengetsu wasn't about to coddle Sasuke, Uchiha. He'd seen plenty. Back when Yuro and the Uchiha clan signed a peace treaty, aka an alliance, he'd met tons of Uchiha ninjas just like him, maybe even an ancestor of Sasuke's. The Sharingan, which everyone thought was so awesome these days, was nothing special to him. Unless he showed up with the Mangekyo, he wasn't interested. Hey, kid. Didn't anyone teach you how to ask for help? Yuro Gengetsu said, and started to walk past him. Historically, the Yuro and Uchiha clans had always gotten along, and there were plenty of marriages between the two families. He couldn't stand that arrogant Madara, but he'd always admired Izuna, Madara's brother. They were close, until that evil Senju stabbed him in the back, leaving him for dead, but that was then. Now, the once great Konoha Uchiha were down to one seedling. Remembering the old days and Izuna's similar face, Yuro Gengetsu wouldn't hurt Sasuke, but as for going any further, that was up to the kid. Sasuke's face shifted, thrown off by Yuro Gengetsu's cold shoulder. He'd always been the center of his own universe, consumed by hatred. Even when Kakashi taught him the Chidori, he never called him sensei, just his name. Luckily, Kakashi had seen too much to care. Any other team leader would have put Sasuke in his place. Hagoromo Gengetsu isn't Orochimaru, drooling all over himself, willing to put up with my crap. Sasuke knew that, normally, a proud guy like him would just walk away, but when it came to revenge, he'd sacrifice anything. He remembered meeting Itachi again, how Itachi had looked down on him, like always, easily swatting away his Chidori, mocking him for wasting his time. He remembered the Chunin exams, when Naruto defeated Gaara, the rampaging one-tailed Jinchuriki, something he couldn't do. And just now, in the land of tea, Naruto had taken down Midori Aoi. Sasuke clenched his fists, fighting back the frustration. Finally, he ran back to Hagoromo Gengetsu, lowering his head, swallowing his pride. Hagoromo-sama, please teach me how to become stronger. I swear on the Uchiha name, if it means getting my revenge, I'll do anything for you. Well, the clouds parted, the rain stopped, and Sasuke realized he wasn't all that. Hagoromo Gengetsu stopped, popped the last takoyaki in his mouth, and said, "Little man, do you even know who I am?" The legendary Hagoromo Gengetsu. Looks like your history's a little rusty, Hagoromo Gengetsu said. If Sasuke had gotten a real education from the Uchiha elders, instead of some Chunin dropout at the Ninja Academy, he'd be stronger and know more about the Uchiha clan's history, like how the Uchiha and Yuro clans had been allies for ages. He could have tried to play the sympathy card, especially since Hagoromo was the clan leader and Sasuke was the last Uchiha. Then again, Sasuke probably didn't even know about the Yuro clan, let alone what his last name meant. Oh well. Hagoromo Gengetsu shook his head, looked at Sasuke, and said, "If you want to follow me and get more power, you'll have to betray Konoha." "Can you do that?" Sasuke lowered his head, hesitated, then his eyes hardened. Kakashi and Konoha couldn't teach him anything. Even Kakashi had lost to Itachi. Staying here was a dead end. Only someone stronger, someone who could make Itachi tremble, was worth following. So, Sasuke looked up at Yuro Gengetsu, about to agree. Suddenly, Naruto and Sakura's voices echoed through the trees. "Sasuke! Where'd you go? Sasuke! Where are you? He's been gone too long. You don't think he's in trouble, do you? Naruto, stop being so pessimistic." Sasuke, thought the voices were getting closer. Sasuke, about to give his answer, was flooded with memories of Naruto and Sakura, and the words stuck in his throat. "Looks like you haven't made up your mind yet," Yuro Gengetsu said, noticing everything. When you're ready to cut ties with everything, find me in Shinyun Valley. With that, Yuro Gengetsu vanished. Sasuke, too late to speak, stared at the empty space, his eyes full of conflict. Then, Sasuke. There you are. Naruto, who'd found him first, breathed a sigh of relief, then whined, why'd you run off like that? We haven't even had a bite to eat yet. Sakura, right behind him, shoved Naruto aside and asked, worried, Sasuke, are you okay? Is your bandage okay? I'm fine. Sasuke looked at Naruto and Sakura, his expression unreadable. I just went for a walk. Let's head back. He'd find a way to end this completely. Chapter 58 Goodbye Samui. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Team 7 pressed on, heading home. Out of sight, Yui Xianyu reappeared, his gaze fixed on the Uchiha fan emblem on Sasuke's back. If Sasuke was serious, he wouldn't mind welcoming him. It would be a way of reaching out to their former allies, the Uchiha clan. Samui's report had mentioned the Uchiha clan's secret assistance to the Yui during their relocation, not to mention, some of them now lived alongside the Yui. Yui Xianyu was confident he could accept Sasuke, but you can't force something like that. It all depended on Sasuke's choice. Either way, his own investment was minimal, but the potential payoff was huge. He'd play it by ear. Watching the three figures vanish, Yui Xianyu turned his attention to the bustling town behind him. Since the second battle at Godfall Valley, he'd found peace here, enjoying a simple life, but the thrill of revenge was fading. It was time to get down to business. With a flicker, Yui Xianyu disappeared. The next day, Tsunade's expression darkened when she learned of Yui Xianyu's whereabouts from Team 7. Relieved he hadn't bothered the kids, she immediately dispatched Konoha ninjas to investigate. It was the first confirmed sighting of Yui Xianyu since Godfall Valley, but predictably, he'd vanished without a trace. What's this guy up to? Tsunade frowned, gazing out the window at the busy streets. Maybe he just wants to enjoy his new life. If it were her, she'd spend her days at the casino, but she was hardly the norm. Tsunade, like everyone else, suspected Yui Xianyu had a grand plan after his resurrection, yet, he hadn't made a move. Tsunade glanced at the stack of documents on her desk, barely revealing the plan for the 5 Kages summit, and fell into thought. Godfall Valley, after his wanderings, Yui Xianyu had returned. This place felt like home. Traces of his battle with Team Abby remained. And now, there were signs of other visitors as well. Since his reappearance, Godfall Valley had become a hotspot for ninja tourists. The Konoha ninjas, acting as landlords, had driven away most of the sightseers, restoring a semblance of calm. Short-handed due to the village attack, the Konoha ninjas couldn't maintain a constant presence. After all, who'd expect Yui Xianyu to return? So, under their noses, Yui Xianyu did just that. He destroyed the statue of Hagoromo Xianyu himself. Now, Hagoromo Xianyu sat atop the statue of Senju Hashirama, waiting. Soon, a familiar figure approached. Hagoromo Han greets the clan leader, the blonde, aloof female ninja said, kneeling respectfully before the clone, just as she had before. Rise, Hagoromo Xianyu said. Did you bring the things? Samui nodded, unsealing a storage scroll. In a puff of smoke, dozens of books appeared. Per Hagoromo Xianyu's request, these were medical ninjutsu texts. They included both Hidden Cloud's own collection and those the Hagoromo clan had gathered over the years. Yui Xianyu casually picked up a book, flipping through it. What's been happening in Kumogakure? Samui replied, the Raikage's injury caused some unrest, but the Raikage lineage's prestige is strong, and as he's been preparing his successor, things are mostly the same. The Raikage's constitution is remarkable, Yui Xianyu said, not looking up. While the Raikage's ninjutsu was well known, his true strength lay in his honed physique. Only the best of the Senju and Uzumaki clans could match him, and Tsunade and Naruto were prime examples. Senju and Uzumaki, Yui Xianyu's own physique was exceptional, but not on Naruto's level or the Raikage's insane training regimen. Besides, he relied on his steel-release Kekkei Genkai. More importantly, he couldn't heal as quickly as Naruto or the Raikage. Hence his interest in medical ninjutsu. Then, Yui Han said seriously, Master, I overheard some high-level cloud ninja talking. It seems the Raikage intends to convene a 5 Kage summit, and you're the main topic. 5 Kages Summit, that the name triggered a painful memory. Yui Xuanyue's fingers froze. The first 5 Kages Summit was his downfall, those 5 backstabbing old geezers. But, let bygones be bygones, maybe he'd visit their graves sometime, burn incense, dance a jig, and catch up with the old gang. He'd tell them how happily he was living, thanks to their blessings. Don't worry about it, Yui Xianyue said, turning the page again, same name, but a different group of Kage, getting the 5 major villages, who had been at each other's throats for decades, to cooperate was no easy task. In the original timeline, they only reached an agreement because Akatsuki was running wild, capturing tailed beasts, and the Leaf Village was getting hammered. That's what prompted them to call for a 4th war and forced the 5 villages to cooperate, but now they were singing, drinking, and dancing. The knife wasn't quite at their throats. Even if the 5 Kage were willing, their villages wouldn't fully commit. Yui Xianyue knew human nature well. He wasn't worried about this 5 Kage summit. What if they tried to ambush him again? This time, there was no Hashirama Senju among them. Seeing her clan leader dismiss the summit, Samui's eyes shone with admiration. She noticed Yui Xianyue was done with the book and reaching for another. Taking the opportunity, she delivered a message from the elder. Clan leader, Elder Mu Ting asked me to tell you he's eager to see you. Chapter 59. The clan leader asked me about my free time. Could it be that? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mu Ting. The name flashed through Yui Xianyue's mind, bringing with it the image of a kid in a too-big ninja vest, perpetually sporting a runny nose. He's an elder of the clan now. Yui Xianyue sighed, the weight of time hitting him. He felt old, or, at least, he looked old to everyone else. He was still in his 20s. He refused to accept an age that didn't match how he felt. Tell Mu Ting to take it easy. I'll get to him later. Yui Xianyue issued the order and picked up a book. Yes. Samui, having received his instructions, quietly lit a pre-prepared incense burner filled with refreshing incense. With the practiced ritual of a clan with centuries of history, she prepared a tea set and poured a cup of the finest tea. Attending to him, the Yui clan, older than many of the Land of Fire's noble families, wasn't as uptight as the Hyuga clan, but they weren't as lax as the Uchiha, who valued strength above all else. Yui Xianyue didn't care much for the formalities. But his subordinates liked it, so he went along and enjoyed it. Soon, Yui Xianyue, a fast reader, had devoured dozens of books on medical ninjutsu. He held out his right hand, a vibrant green chakra instantly swirling around his palm. Even though Samui knew her clan leader was a ninjutsu prodigy, she was still amazed by how quickly he'd mastered medical ninjutsu. Yui Xianyue, used to it, covered his wound with his right hand. He quickly realized that his healing rate had more than doubled. This medical system is impressive, a vast improvement from the Warring States era. Yuro Gengetsu mused. Medical ninjutsu was rudimentary back then. It couldn't effectively treat the seriously injured, and the killing only intensified. This was why ninjas rarely lived past 30, and 5-year-olds were sent into battle. Tsunade and her medical ninjas were truly remarkable. Without them, the Ninja World War would have been fought by barely trained academy students. However, these medical ninjutsu weren't enough for Yuro Gengetsu. Hashirama Senju, at his peak, had inflicted these injuries. Clearing the residual sage chakra, not to mention the wounds that penetrated deep into his vital organs, was beyond the scope of this basic medical ninjutsu. I apologize, clan leader. This is the highest level of medical ninjutsu information we could access, Samui admitted. You've done well. Yui Xianyue didn't blame Samui or the others. While the Yui clan was scattered, they had operatives in each of the 5 great shinobi villages, spreading the risk. The problem was that unless they got lucky, it was difficult to reach the real top leaders within those villages. Medical ninjutsu was strategically important, and Samui had taken risks just to gather what she had. Yui Xianyue then inquired about the current state of medical advancements in the ninja world. Unsurprisingly, Konoha, thanks to Tsunade, was leading the charge, a true pioneer in the field. Their ability to rapidly heal seriously injured ninjas gave them the edge in any fight. It was no wonder Tsunade had become Hokage after working outside the village for so many years. Also, Samui added, the Yui clan has learned of a doctor named Shinnon. His methods are unorthodox, but highly effective. Civilians, nobles, and even ninjas seek him out for treatment, and they give him rave reviews. Konoha. Shinnon. Yui Xian, you considered this. To fully recover, he needed to explore every avenue, he'd need to play both sides, he already had an idea for Konoha. As for Shinnon, Yui Xianyu, knowing he could task the Yui clan's intelligence network, ordered, find Shinnon's location as soon as possible. Yes. Samui nodded, this was the benefit of having influence. A lone wolf, no matter how powerful, would struggle to find someone in the vast ninja world. The Akatsuki organization was a perfect example. Other rogue ninjas lived in fear of assassination, but Akatsuki members wore matching uniforms and bamboo hats, moving freely. This was thanks to the vast intelligence network of countless white zetsu. Without it, they would eventually be overwhelmed, just like the immortal duo. Yui Xianyu was thankful the Yui clan was still around. It made his second life much easier. After watching Samui summon a messenger hawk and send out the coded request, Yui Xianyu asked. Han, how long can you stay? Samui had taken a nearby assignment to get the chance to meet with Yui Xianyu. Her eyes widened at the question. The clan leader is asking about my free time. Could it be? Samui looked around, her gaze a little vague. They were alone in the wilderness. Just a man and a woman. A sudden thought hit her and her usually cold and beautiful face turned red. It would be mortifying to let go of herself in such a visible open place, but she could not refuse him, as Samui was seriously pondering whether she should be proactive or passive, and how far to let things go if she took the lead. Yui Xianyu continued, if you have time, show me your skills here. I can give you some pointers. Even if it was a tribe member who greatly admires you, it's wrong to always let him be a cow and horse without any reward. Yui Xianyu's best reward at the moment is naturally to give him advice on the other party's problems in practice. With his ninjutsu background, he is second to none in teaching. As expected, Samui's face turned red with excitement. Of course, her ability to adjust is excellent. Soon, Samui returned to her cold and elegant demeanor, expressionless, and said word by word. I have 2 hours. Chapter 60. Take a nap. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The cry of eagles echoed in the sky, in the Valley of the Gods. After finishing up teaching Samui some ninjutsu and saying goodbye to a very grateful student, Hagoromo Genzuki chilled in the valley for a couple of days. Then, another messenger eagle from the Hagoromo clan showed up. Hagoromo Xianyu held out his arm, a gust of wind whipped around him as a messenger eagle, almost 2 feet long, swooped down and landed squarely on his forearm. Gotta lead this fast. Hagoromo Xianyu plucked the small scroll from the eagle's leg, using the Hagoromo clan's special hand seal to untie it. Sure enough, the Hagoromo clan had already dug up info on Shinnon and sent it over. Land of Fire, huh? Doesn't look too far from here. Let's wrap this up quick. Might be a little surprise waiting for me back in Konoha. Hagoromo Xianyu released the messenger eagle, and in a blink, vanished from the Valley of the Gods. Meanwhile, back in Hidden Leaf Village, the smoke of war had cleared from this surprisingly resilient village. The rubble had been cleared, the houses rebuilt, and the streets were bustling again. Everything looked just like it did before the Chunin exams, but that was just on the surface. Things and people had subtly shifted underneath. At Konoha Hospital, after returning from the land of tea and being stuck in the hospital, Sasuke and Naruto finally crossed paths and wound up having a rooftop showdown. Kakashi broke it up at the last second, but after sizing up the damage from Chidori and Rasengan, Sasuke confidently prepped to bounce. He glanced back and saw the reservoir wall completely shredded from Naruto's Rasengan, and his cocky grin instantly evaporated. Snap. Sasuke's fists clenched, his eyelids lowered, and his face turned dark. Naruto. When did Naruto get so strong? All this time, Naruto had always been seen as the underdog, while Sasuke was the acknowledged genius. What the heck happened? Naruto had taken down the rampaging Gaara and then Green Aoi with the Thunder God sword. Hell, even the fight just now, Kakashi had to step in. The more Sasuke thought about it, the tighter his fists became. How was Naruto improving so quickly? Compared to Naruto, Sasuke felt like he was standing still. So the rumors are true. The only survivor of Konoha's famed Uchiha clan is the one with the worst talent, that always words echoed in Sasuke's mind, and that man. You're weak. Why are you so weak? Because you don't hate me enough. He replayed his recent run-in with Uchiha Itachi, still feeling just as helpless and pathetic as when he was 7, this couldn't go on. Even Naruto's catching up to me. How can I kill Itachi if I'm just standing around? This ninja game is over. Sasuke stared out at the village and made his decision. On a deserted road, the gray-haired Shinong shuffled along with a walking stick and his medicine kit. Over the years, he traveled the ninja world, pretending to heal the sick, but really, he was hunting down forbidden techniques to control the Zero Tails. Shinong wasn't worried about his cover being blown. As far as anyone knew, the short-lived Sky Ninja were long gone. He'd saved countless lives and earned a good reputation, which usually kept trouble at bay, but today, he definitely should have stayed in bed. Shinong. Shinong frowned at the stranger blocking his path, but kept up his kind facade. Young man, are you feeling unwell? Please tell me about it. Anyone who knew his name probably knew what he did. Shinong figured this guy was just another patient seeking him out because of his reputation. Sick. Yeah, I'm sick. The stranger, of course, was Hagoromo Shienue. He nodded. But instead of you treating me, I'd rather treat myself. Hagoromo Gengetsu wasn't about to let the seemingly kind Shinong slip any nasty surprises into his system while healing him. Everybody has their strengths. If a doctor wanted to leave something behind during treatment, it'd be tough for a patient to spot it. That's why Hagoromo Gengetsu figured he'd learn medical ninjutsu himself. Just to be safe, Hagoromo Gengetsu cut to the chase. Hand over all your medical ninjutsu, and I'll give you a reward you won't forget, leader of the Sky Ninja. I'm just a regular guy. I don't know any medical ninjutsu. Wait. What did you call me? Shinong's expression did a complete 180, he'd started to say he was just an ordinary person, but then it clicked, leader of the Sky Ninja. Had he been made? Shinong couldn't believe it, but Hagoromo Shianue's eyes were calm and unwavering. Even though he didn't know how he'd been found out, he knew talking wouldn't help. Youngsters who think they know everything, shouldn't they be enjoying life? Shinong sighed, then, he dropped the act and tore off his mask, revealing his true colors. He glared at Hagoromo Shienue. You want to learn my medical ninjutsu? Think you can threaten me with air ninjutsu? Fool. Arrogant. Greedy. I'll send you to meet your maker right now. Shinong whipped off his coat, revealing a surprisingly ripped physique for his age. Seeing Shinong flip out so easily, Yui Shienue sighed. You stubborn old coot, why can't you just be reasonable? I offered you a deal, but you blew it. Besides, I've met the god of death before. Don't need another intro. Met the god of death. Shinong figured Yui Shienue was off his rocker, not bothering with chit-chat. He yelled, you ignorant little punk, since you know about air ninjutsu, do you have any idea what I've been doing for the last 50 years since the Sky Country fell? Do you know what those 50 years mean? Yui Shienue tilted his head, thought hard, and then shrugged. Took a nap. You're still mouthing off when you're about to die. Shinong, now completely livid, started blazing through hand seals. Forbidden medical technique, body activation. His muscles bulged and swelled. Shinong, now a mini-Hulk, charged forward, the ground shaking as he threw a lightning-fast punch at Yui Shienue. Die. You little rat. 1 minute later. Stop. I give up. The same guy who was so confident and imposing before was now backing away in a hot mess. Shinong waved the white flag with a swollen nose and face, begging for mercy at the top of his lungs. Yui Shienue, whose clothes weren't even wrinkled, shook his head and sighed. You never listen to reason. Always gotta make me do things the hard way. Is it really that tough to just make a peaceful trade? This world is tough.